So the Teclast F7 was the best Apollo Lake budget laptop I looked at and reviewed. But this one right here is the F7 Plus. It's the new model and it has a Gemini Lake processor. And unlike the other models that I've checked out that had a good build quality, like for example the Chewy Lapbook SE here, which is my current favorite budget laptop that I use all the time, this one's sadly limited to only 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now I have checked out other 8 gigabyte models, but they haven't been very good. Like that jumper that I recently looked at, the S4. The build quality was terrible. This looks a lot more promising and hopefully it's going to be the new best budget laptop here. So it has a build, according to what I'm seeing with the press images, it looks almost identical to this. It's just going to be slightly larger. So we have a typical Teclast style box here. It's exactly the same like the F7. So I'll just pop this up and you can see there we have the laptop there. It's packaged up nicely, good padding around it. And it feels maybe a little bit heavier than my Lapbook SE. So you lift this up here if it's just like the other laptops. And here we'll find the charger. And there's like an instruction leaflet in here. Okay, this is just instruction leaflets right here. You can see there's just a few other things. So now that is in English, quick start guide. Okay, I'll get that out of the way. And here is the charger. So this is a EU style one. And it looks to be exactly the same as the F7's charger. So it's in white there, 12 volts and 2 amps is the output. And I'll just check the weight of it. It does, to me, feel definitely heavier. So 1.61 kilos. Now the Lapbook SE weighs 1.43, so yes, it is quite a bit heavier. So we have metal on the top, the lid's just like the Lapbook SE, and you can see the size difference here. So this is 13.3, and then we have 14 with this one. Now this will light up, it's a backlit logo there. So when you open up the screen, the backlight from the IPS panel will light that up. Okay, so let's check out the keyboard first. Oh, that hinge feels good. That feels a little bit stiffer than my Lapbook SE's. So that is good. And hey, that keyboard looks almost identical, doesn't it? That is almost exactly the same. So it is a backlit keyboard and I think they're identical. Let's have a look. You can just see it's the edges on the side is the difference there really. Oh, maybe it's stretched out slightly wider. You can see they're just a little bit wider there. That's it, but it's more or less the same exact keyboard as the Lapbook SE. Very large touchpad. Now this will be Windows Precision driver controlled. And just like that Lapbook SE, the build is the same, that it's plastic on the top, but there is a slight difference here with the hinge at the top. It just goes up a little bit more here, and this is silver instead of black. So for ports on the right hand side, we have a micro SD card reader, headphone jack with mic support, and then one of 2 USB 3 ports. On the left, mini HDMI 2.0A, so that's 4K 60Hz, status LED, DCM for charging, USB 3 port, and the sides of it, this is made out of an alloy, so that's all metal. The only plastic is just this bit on the top, the palm rest. And on the bottom you will find this little hatch here, so that is where the SSD is there, so you can easily upgrade it. You don't have to remove the whole back panel to get to it. So we've got a 2242 sized one in here. It is a SATA 3 SSD, and you can add larger capacity ones up to 1 terabyte and even over, I think, with the 2280 format. Just make sure you use SATA 3 though. Underside we've got 2 solid rubber feet, and these little dots here, they are actually microphones. An odd location, but if it's like the Lapbook SE, they should sound fine and they're not actually a problem. And yes, I can confirm that there is a gap between the glass on the front of the screen here and then the IPS panel below it of about 1 millimeter. So that's a little disappointing. It takes away from the feel of the laptop. It doesn't seem quite as premium then to have the fully laminated like you get with this one. I notice a really good English here, SSD updation. Updation, what is that? So we'll get this screen protector off anyway that it comes with. And to top it off, there are specks of dust underneath that screen protector. That just looks awful. So I just powered up into the BIOS and you can see we have 8 gigabytes of RAM running at 2133 megahertz. That is right here. And it's a fully unlocked BIOS. So we can get ourselves into a little bit of trouble with some of these settings. But under CPU configuration, there's one important one that I like to boost performance. And that is our power limit. So they do have a power limit enabled. You could disable that if you wanted to. Later on, I may post a video of that about tweaking this. And they've just set that to power limit 1 auto, which will probably be the default 6 watt TDP of this CPU. Now, you probably might have noticed this. NVMe configuration, well, there is no NVMe on this. There's no support for it, not with this chipset at all. So do not buy an NVMe SSD thinking it's going to work on this laptop, because it won't. It won't even actually fit in the slot. Okay, so Windows, just got into it now. The account was already set up for some reason. Let's have a look at the free space we get. A very nice touchpad, by the way. It is a Windows Precision one, which is good. You can feel that. Okay, we've got 100 gigabytes free on this drive. So, and a bit of space there. Of course, you can upgrade that. Now, you will notice down here, the blacks, because this is a non-laminated screen, you can see those blacks there aren't going to be as dark as they could be with the fully laminated displays. It looks a little bit grey more than actual black. That's just one of the downsides. But overall, I think the screen, looking at it so far, I don't think that the gap is a deal breaker on here. It's just unfortunate, and yeah, I am disappointed. I expected this to be fully laminated for some reason. I don't know why. I guess just because the laptop SE has it. So I'll just give it a bit of a keyboard flex test here, pressing down quite hard. And the normal typing there is actually really good. It looks like it's moving a lot, but really this is not. Just a bit there in the middle, and overall that is not going to be an issue. The keyboard is also backlit. It doesn't come on automatically, which is a bit of a shame there. You have to actually turn it on yourself manually. So function F5 will turn it on. You get two different levels. This is on the brightest level at the moment. And you'll notice that on my unit, I have a little bit of a defect, a bit of a problem here with the Alt key. You can see it's very bright, that light that's coming up here from it. It's because this key doesn't seem to be sitting 100% square. If I move it just a little bit, and then it's a little better, but that's just a minor defect on my unit that I've picked up. The laptop does come with Windows 10 Home. Now, I've added here a different SSD to this because that's got all my files on here, and this is the latest version. But it's a valid key that's on this laptop. It'll pull through, so you won't have any problems with activation. So I've just loaded up HW Info to have a look at the CPU. So it's got 4 cores, it's a low-end chip, and it does have a 6-watt TDP set here, as you can see. So that's the maximum there. So if you want to get higher than this, better performance, we're going to have to go back into the BIOS and set something like 9 watts or 10 watts there to improve performance. But first we need to just confirm, of course, the thermals. There's no point increasing this if it's going to start overheating and thermal throttling. Hopefully it won't, but I will check that out, of course, in my full review. Here is our Geekbench score. So this is more or less on par with other Celeron N4100s. Perhaps the multi-core scores are a little bit lower here, but that's probably because of that 6-watt TDP. So apart from the screen not being fully laminated, it's not actually too bad so far, this IPS panel. It's 1080p. Now it does have better brightness than the laptop SE. How many times have I said laptop SE in this video? But it's 250 lux is the maximum output, and on the laptop SE, it's 200 lux. Maybe it's just me, but the speakers seem to be a little bit better, just a tiny little bit more bass than what I've heard with the other laptop. But I'll give you a sample of them now. They're still not wonderful speakers, but they've got a tiny bit more bass, and the volume, well, it could be louder too. So there we go, that is the F7 Plus, which is very similar to the laptop SE, but doesn't have a fully laminated screen, unfortunately, which was a little bit disappointing. Now you probably see here that if you look at the touchpad, that it's not actually the same color as the palm rest, but it is on the laptop SE. I don't know why that is, so they haven't been able to pair those colors up for some reason. The other thing too to note is that it weighs a little bit more, it's a little bit thicker. But other than that, the build quality is good. It's excellent. A very nice keyboard. The touchpad works well. And the screen, 50 lux brighter than the laptop SE. So overall, it's looking like a very decent Gemini Lake laptop. Of course, it has that 8 gigabytes of RAM that so many people are after. Not limited with just the 4 that we've been getting a lot on. And okay, there are another couple of laptops out there with 8 gigabytes of RAM, but they're not quality machines, the ones I've looked at. These ones, however, have a much better build quality from this ODM. So I'm currently with the flu at the moment, and that's why this is a little bit shorter, this video. So I will be back with the full review, which will cover gaming, Linux, thermals, all of that. I hope to catch you back then. Bye for now.